Hello everybody and welcome back to another reactive video. Today we're going to be learning about some solid state battery technology that apparently makes them a real thing now. Kind of thought that they were already a thing, but maybe he'll clarify his title here in a minute. There's solid state batteries. From what I understand, they've been around for a little bit. They just haven't been commercially viable or something like that. I don't really know. We're going to watch the video. We'll learn a little bit about this, and I'll chime in when I have something to say about it.
If there's any doubt that solid-state batteries are actually here, well, here's proof. You can actually buy this for yourself like I did and get it delivered to your door in a day or two. No, solid-state batteries aren't everywhere and definitely not mass market yet, but they aren't vaporware and always 5 years away. Just like this Yoshino battery, which I'll get into the details in just a second, there's other solid-state batteries right on the cusp of ending up in consumer electronics devices near you. But do these early versions live up to the hype? And who is this Yoshino battery really good for? I'm Matt Farrell. Welcome to Undecided. This video
I'm so used to the other song for this channel.
On that later. I published a video a few weeks back about the progress of solid-state batteries and how they're finally here. And to say I got some pushback would be an understatement. I received comments like, nuclear fusion has some company. It's really funny. It's not accurate, but it is funny. I'll give you that.
All right, so if you're not the kind of person who follows scientific related things, nuclear fusion is one of those technologies that they keep saying is 20 years in the future, and it always will be, because it's something that's always been theoretically possible, but the challenges of overcoming creating a sustainable fusion reaction that gives you more energy than you put in, and you can do over and over and over again in a way that makes it useful. It's just something that's been extremely difficult to overcome. Right now, we think we actually are within a few years of having an actual reaction that produces more energy. I know you heard in the news a while back that this had already happened, but my understanding is that they were looking at one specific part of the reaction, but the overall input was still more than what they got back out of it. So there's a lot of extra technical things that you need to know about that kind of stuff that I don't know either. But my understanding is that in this one part of the experiment, they got more energy than they put in, but the overall energy used was still more than what they got back out of it. So it's still on the horizon, and it still could forever be on the horizon. There may not be we're still not 100% sure that there's a way to make it actually work. But the reason why I just want to explain that to you, because that's the joke. It's always in the future, and solid state batteries apparently are in this category as well.
Now, I guess I sparked quite a reaction. I really opened myself up to that point of view with how I talked about the latest developments. Everyone has a different opinion of what a product being here, as in now, means. Does it mean it's mass market, or just that it's the first cells that are shipping? It's a bit of a charged topic. Now, my focus on EVs didn't help that matter either. Bottom line, I could have done a much better job clearly defining what I meant by here and now in the video.
Well, we all make mistakes, but the internet trolls out there are never going to let you get away with having anything that isn't absolutely perfect. And even if it's actually absolutely perfect, they're going to go out of their way to find something to criticize you for anyway. So I'm sure his video was probably just fine. There's just a lot of people who like to nitpick, and they're never satisfied.
I'll amp up my clarity on that kind of stuff next time. But in a nutshell, I was talking about how many companies are now producing solid-state battery cells for actual use and/or testing by partners. We're officially in the manufacturing ramp-up stage, so figuring out the chemistry and if it works is kind of in the rearview mirror in some cases. Yeah. That is a major.
So I'm gonna. This may be something redundant to say because he might explain solid-state batteries here in a minute, but in case he doesn't, before we get into talking about the specific application, solid-state battery is basically a battery that has no liquid components, purely liquid components. One of the big problems with battery chemistry that we've had so far is we're having to use these very corrosive and volatile chemicals to move electrons from one side of the battery to the other, and it causes a lot of wear and tear. And it also has these things inside called dendrites that will move from one side of the battery through the other. And when they do that, it basically ruins your battery completely, because now you don't have a barrier in between the one side and the other. So there's just a lot of reasons. Fire is one of the big problems, especially with the liquid chemistry batteries that we have. So we want to make the solid state batteries make it so that the risk of fire is almost zero, or it might actually be zero, because there's no way for the parts of the batteries that would touch each other and cause a fire for that to happen, and it's a much safer technology. And apparently the chemistry for the solid state batteries are able to hold a lot, are able to have a higher energy density and discharge rates and charge rates and things like that. So again, I'm talking off of just vague memories of things I've heard and read over the years, but that's solid state batteries in a nutshell.
A sign that the technology has hit a turning point. It's definitely a positive change. However, I should have focused on a product that you can actually get in your hands today, or to quote another comment from the video, until I can order from Amazon, it's not even close. So please, no solid state information unless it's in your possession. Okay, here you go. I bought myself this Yoshino B330 solid state portable power station on Amazon and had it delivered to my house in 2 days. And to be clear,
it's reasonable to be skeptical. Like, you should never take anything you hear online at face value. It's reasonable for the person to have that kind of a comment. And kudos to this guy for going out of his way to say, hey, there you go.
No relationship with Yoshino. This is the smallest version of their battery pack, which has 330 watts of continuous power and 241 watt hours of storage. They also have a version that scales all the way up to the B4000.
Let me move my microphone away a little bit because I start talking kind of loud and I'm sure I'm overbearing. Sorry about that.
11 watt hours of storage capacity. In general, the reason you might want a small battery like the B330 is for going camping or reserving emergency power to charge up your phone or laptop in a blackout. The larger batteries are also great for those same uses, but they're even better for running power tools at a work site that doesn't have power available, or backing up more substantial appliances in a blackout, or even getting your entire home back online. Now, the little guy I have right here weighs in at 9.9 pounds and can charge in a couple of hours. What's nice to see on even a small unit like this is that you can charge through one of 3 ways. 1, the DC input on the back, 2, solar panels, and 3, USB-C power delivery on the front. You can also tandem these up to speed up the charging.
On a side note, I'd like to say it really irritates me when when companies try to put these kind of batteries that you take with you in the same category as like a generator. It's really irritating when you're trying to search for a generator online and then all of these little power stations come up. Like, you still have to charge them before you leave. That's not a charging solution for me.
So you can be charging through both the USB-C and DC or solar input on the back all at the same time. There's a couple of DC output terminals on the front, as well as 2 AC outlets, 2 USB-A and 2 USB-C ports. The main focus of Yoshino for this design is meant for on-the-go power, like as an emergency backup or for use during camping trips, so there's an LED light bar that can act as a light source. Now, it's not the brightest light in the world, but in a pinch, it's
better than nothing.
And much like other battery packs in this type of product, you can also connect to it.
I think putting a light on just about everything is a good idea, because you never know when you're going to need it, and you never know. You need it when you need it, and it sucks when you don't have it.
It's well designed and easy to navigate. It shows you what ports are currently active, the power draw, and how much time is left on the current charge. You can also monitor its charging status, which can be handy when you've got some solar panels plugged into it. So what's inside this thing? Well, it's a solid state cell that's using an NCM or nickel cobalt manganese formula, which might sound similar to the widely used NMC or nickel manganese cobalt. The reason for the different order of the letters usually reflects the different ratios of those elements in the chemistry for the battery cathode. Now, the big difference though is the use of a solid electrolyte versus a liquid or gel version.
And this is what we were talking about before when we were talking about the difference between why solid state batteries are a thing. And I think he's probably about to go into it, so maybe that previous stuff was redundant, but I have to pop in every once in a while and say something so that I can sufficiently transform the video enough so that nobody can say that I'm copyright infringing or anything like that. If I just sit here and watch the video for too long, people can kind of get mad about that. And, I have to actually put some effort into this, right?
Yoshino, they're using an inorganic polymer composite, or IPC, for their electrolyte between the anode and the cathode. I reached out to Yoshino for additional details on the battery and found out some interesting things. The team didn't give me the exact formulation of their battery for probably obvious reasons.
Well, yeah, they don't want anybody else to copy their design.
By USA Energy Assurance Labs. Yoshino's batteries were put through the paces for thermal runaway, nail penetrations, and short circuits, which are some of the big selling points of solid-state batteries.
Thermal runaway is that one we were talking about where it's going to start a fire. So you can find online videos of like phones or laptops catching on fire, and the intensity of those fires when you see them is just like, geez, what the whoa. So the lithium ion battery technology that we have right now, or even the lithium iron phosphate that we have, that I have in my trailer right now, the iron phosphate is still less of a fire hazard, but there's still a relative, there's still a not, a not insignificant chance of a fire as compared to something like a solid state battery, which is what we'd all really like to get to, I think, at this point.
This battery is substantially safer in those regards than a typical lithium-ion battery with a liquid electrolyte. But there's also some other key attributes that set this battery apart that shouldn't be a surprise if you're familiar with solid state. They're more energy dense, which means you can get the same power output and storage in a smaller package. They're also better on the cycle life front too, so these should last longer than the competition that's out there. But how
And having a smaller package is nice and everything, but if you're in a situation like me where you live in an RV, it isn't. I mean, it's about having a smaller package, but if you have a situation like mine where you're in a space and you have a dedicated space for that kind of stuff, then you're going to want to. It's not just more energy in a smaller package, it's more energy in the package that you already have, so that I can have more the same number of batteries, but I get a lot more reserve capacity. So that's pretty exciting, especially if we can get to the point where I can actually buy some decent batteries for not exorbitant prices.
How's this look in context?
That's always the problem. It's always really expensive.
It's super important when looking at technologies like this, as well as all of your news stories. Misinformation and bias shows up in all reporting, which is why I'm excited to have Ground News as a sponsor.
Here we go with the sponsor.
Created by a former NASA engineer, the Ground News app and website gathers news from over 50,000 in one place and allows you to compare.
I do not endorse any sponsors on any of my videos. I'm going to try to remember to say that during every one of these, but I'm not going to skip it because he deserves to have his ad viewed, even because you're not actually watching his video.
News monitoring organizations. For instance, this recent story about a couple of people accused of stealing Tesla battery secrets to start their own company. You can quickly see how many total sources covered this story, out of which 52% lean left, 43% center, and only 5% lean right. Best of all, you can compare
that's a pretty cool service
to see
to
how
provide.
These biases might affect the framing. This right source leans into the country of origin, and the definitive
it's
word
definitely
stole
important to know the bias of the sources that you're watching. The best way to get I'm not going to pause it, I'm just going to talk over him. Sorry if you're interested in it, but the best way to get a well-rounded viewpoint is to watch sources that are from all different places, so you can form your own opinion.
Reported by one side of the political spectrum. And Ground News
watch stuff that's on the left, watch stuff that's on the right, find stuff that's in the center. It's a good way to go.
And not just one source's perspective.
Yeah.
Go to ground.news/undecided or scan the QR code to give it a try. If you sign up through my link, you'll get 40% off the Vantage plan.
I'll have a link to his channel in the description if you're interested, so that you can go to his page and sign up through that.
And I hope you'll check them out. Thanks to Ground News and to all of you for supporting the channel. So back to how the Yoshino battery looks in context. This is where we should compare the Yoshino battery to comparable power stations on the market. And some of the more popular brands out there are things like Bluetti, Anker, and EcoFlow. So let's take a look at some of those. And since I have
never heard of them, Anker. I've heard of Anker. I've had a couple of Anker products, but I've never heard of the other ones.
EcoFlow River 2, Bluetti EB3A, and Anker 522. When you look at the price, it looks like it falls right in line with the competition. However, when you divide the cost of the unit by the watt-hour capacity, you start to see the difference. Yoshino is roughly $1.24
I have to check something real quick. Sorry.
Chime in between.
I'll be right back. Where's my pause button? Okay, sorry about that. Life always pops in at the most inconvenient times.
That means Yoshino's battery, which is a first-gen product, comes in 11 to 37% more costly than the competition per watt-hour. However, the key benefits of solid state is safety, longevity.
Safety and longevity and all that stuff. We also have to remember new technologies always cost more money at first because they don't have economies of scale. They don't have all the bugs work. They don't have the process like nailed down to the most efficient version of it yet. Anything new is always going to cost more, and it's going to cost more for a while. The LiFePO, the lithium iron phosphate batteries were very much a lot more expensive for a while until the price finally kind of started to come down. It's just the way manufacturing works.
Energy density. So how does it compare on that last one? Well, not so great for the model that I've got. Yoshino is at 53.56 watt hours per kilogram, which is just slightly lower than the Bluetti.
That kind of sucks.
But both EcoFlow and Anker have 73 and 76 watt hours per kilogram. So
but these are
what's
all
going on there?
These are all solid state batteries, so I
decided
believe.
to expand my comparison to Yoshino's largest battery, the B4000, to comparable batteries. I picked the EcoFlow Delta Pro, the Bluetti AC300 B300 combo, and Anker Solix F3800. This is where it got more perplexing. Now, these models aren't exactly an apples-to-apples comparison because of how they're intended to be used. The Bluetti AC300B300 combo is actually 2 separate boxes that you have to use together. It's meant more for permanent or semi-permanent installation like whole home backup or for an RV. Now, in terms of power output and storage,
that's what I need.
It is comparable, which is why
I need one of those for mine.
Money-wise, the numbers across the board landed in very similar regions.
It's so expensive.
At least non-sale prices were used for comparison.
So energy storage, though, it can hold. That's actually not. I guess it's not bad. That's actually not that bad. I can get watt hours though. I need to see that in amp hours, because I'm not going to try to figure out the math here on camera. But I was going to say that's not that bad, but I need to see it in amp hours, because you have to divide it by either 12 volts to get the amps, because I believe the formula for watts is amps times voltage gives you watts. I think that's how that works. So when they show you watt hours, they're showing you independent of voltage, which means that the amps don't matter unless you know all of that together. So I guess it's hard for me to know. It's hard to know if that's actually a good price compared to what I already have.
It's not shocking, but the watt hours per kilogram was very different. The Yoshino B4000 has 107 watt hours per kilogram versus a range of 53 to 80 watt hours per kilogram. That makes the B4000 101% more energy dense than the comparable Bluetti and 34% more energy dense.
I mean, that's a good thing to be able to say.
This is more of what I was expecting to see when I dove into this comparison in the first place. So why is the smaller battery, the one that I've got, so behind in the comparison? And my hunch was the
probably an earlier model
product and all the bells and whistles. Yoshino's battery has a large and heavy metal handle that wraps around the entire box. EcoFlow's River 2, on the other hand, is all plastic with no light, which means there is a weight savings from materials and components.
That makes sense.
This hunch was confirmed when I reached out to Yoshino for.
I'm at the point now where I mostly just want to build my own set. You can, especially with the lithium ion phosphate batteries, you can actually buy lithium iron phosphate cells on various websites, and then you can get together enough cells to make up an individual battery, wire it all together, get a battery controller, and you can save a lot of space doing that, because most of the commercial batteries have these cases that waste a lot of room. So if you could get it to where you can have like a bunch of cells all lined up and then wire them in a proper way, you can actually condense your energy storage into even a smaller space, as long as you're being careful about not generating too much heat in one spot. But with these solid state batteries, I don't even know if that's even a problem anymore. You could probably just jam a bunch of cells together and you don't have to really worry too much about a fire anymore. So I don't know, maybe I don't know how when you start running into really bad inefficiencies, but I could see buying a bunch of cells and just cramming them all into a space now. Might be safe to do that.
The team compromised some additional weight for the sake of additional functionality and aesthetics. Having one in hand, I can say it's nice to pick up and it looks great, but I'd personally have preferred a plastic casing to save some weight. However, those design choices become less impactful,
and especially as you get older. As you get older, you're going to really want to have lighter weight things, because my elbow's really starting to hurt me. My shoulder's starting to hurt me. I've had back problems ever since I got out of the Marine Corps. So I want everything to be lighter. I mean, metal's nice and everything, but I don't want anything that's heavy. Whatever generator I get's going to need to have some wheels or something, because I'm not trying to kill my back to carry that stuff around.
Which is why we see the D4000 come out way ahead on that front. All of that raises the big question, why would you want this? Well, it really comes down to your use case. So let's start with the small battery packs. If you're looking for the lightest weight and cheapest small battery pack to take with you on a trip, then you're most likely looking at the EcoFlow or the Anchor. However, if you're looking for a battery that will last you an incredible time span,
and if you have only even halfway been paying attention, he's saying that because for the size, you get a better energy density and better energy to weight ratio, because it's something you have to carry around. So that's why.
With the least degradation, is also exceptionally safe and can work in a wide range of temperatures without concern, then you're probably looking at the Yoshino. In this small size category though, it's a tough sell. So what about the larger battery format?
Am I confused? Are the other two not solid state batteries? Maybe I misheard something. Let me know in the comments if I messed that up, because if they're all solid state batteries and they all have those benefits,
the same arguments hold true here, but this is where the weight comes into play. If you need a largest battery that you can get to easily toss into the back of your truck or RV for a trip, even though the Yoshino B4000 costs more, it's dramatically lighter weight. It's half to 1/3 the weight of the competition. Lugging
yeah.
a 53-pound or 24-kilogram battery onto the back of your truck sounds way more appealing than a 100 to 130-pound or 57 to 60-kilogram battery. On top of that, the Yoshino will have a longer lifespan and is safer.
I mean, to put that in the context, I think that the standard lead acid batteries that you have in like cars and stuff like that weigh as much as these bigger units do. So that's a lot of weight to be lugging around. That's a lot.
However, if you're looking for a battery that could serve as a whole home backup with a semi-permanent installation, Yoshino isn't even on the table. Its current batteries are designed for a lifestyle type of brand, on-the-go uses, camping, and emergency backups.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There is an elephant in the room, though. Many of the companies like Blue Eddy, EcoFlow, and Anker have massive sales and promotions that drive that cost even further down. If you pick up their batteries on sale, there's no contest for the value that you get.
I would want to get that one that's meant for a home backup for my trailer.
This is the first-gen Yoshino battery. There's no doubt they're working on a second-generation product.
I'd want to get like a couple of those,
more competitive,
because I'm a power user, and it would be nice to have all that extra power.
Should also be even more compelling on the energy density and performance front too. That said, for a first-gen product, I think the Yoshino holds up surprisingly well. As I always point out when looking at any product, it all comes down to your personal use case. That will dictate what features are more important to you and could make the slight increase in cost acceptable.
Can't really disagree with that.
I'm very impressed with the build quality and performance I saw in my testing.
All right, that's enough of that. The thing about my situation is that what I really want to find is I want to find a generator solution that is relatively silent. The inverter generators that we have now are, quiet, more or less quiet. I mean, you can have a conversation around them and it's not going to bother you. But as somebody who has a desire to create a relatively stealth situation, having something that's more or less silent would be awesome. So I'm not even really sure what you could do for that, but it would be really cool to come up with an idea. Anyways, that was an interesting video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I'm trying to do as much variety content as I can, so it's not all going to be video games and stuff for the React series that I'm doing. If I see a video that I think is going to be interesting, or if I watch it and it inspires me to make a React video, then we'll be doing that. Be sure to leave me in the comment section links or suggestions to videos you'd like to see covered. If you like the way I'm covering these videos like this, like and subscribe to the channel. Go to visit the link to this person's channel and like and subscribe to or at least like their video. And if you're interested in whatever product it was that they were representing, they have a link in their thing as well. So again, thank you very much for your time. Hope you had lots of fun. Be sure to come back for the next React video, and I'll see you then.